Hey, I'll read number 3, Leonie, if we're ready.
Sounds good.
Okay. I'm getting a little older here, y'all. These eyes are aging, so I gotta take my glasses off to read it. Okay, so number 3. Okay, so the kind of page 27 there. Some of you like us, well, in Roman numerals, some of you like us are up to here with the chorus of lament who give suffering and pain more merit than laughter and health. How would you describe your balance in this sphere? What in your life brings you laughter? What do you imagine would surface more joy in your life? Do you see it as part of your feminism? Oh, good question. Great question. Well, if nobody, I'll go first. I absolutely love this question and these ideas of, balance. First, I think I love that we've already brought up when Cherríe Moraga describes like all these catastrophes that she lived through, and we've lived through these kinds of major catastrophes within the U.S. on the domestic sphere here. But I like that, or it's ironic, shall I say, or paradoxical that we're reading this 30, almost 39 years since the first edition was published. And we are in the midst of a huge catastrophe, a public health crisis. It's international, it's a pandemic, and we have to look across the ocean. Like you have to, it's connected. So I like that. And so what is balance? What is balance even for me at this point? Yeah, I'm searching for joy. I'm calling joy to me. I'm doing it, through ritual. Um, I'm doing it, utilizing it as a kind of spiritual practice, structural methods like writing. I have absolutely been calling joy to me, and that is a component of my feminism / womanism. I have a vision board here in my office that I'm looking at, and at the top it says, "Oh joy." I'm actively calling joy to me. The problematic here, though, is unfortunately there's not a whole lot that I'm able to imagine anymore that brings me joy. This pandemic has kind of broken down some things, like, not being able to share space with people we love, and then that grief, and and just like the reality of the fact that once white people weren't at the top of the list, the death counts, it's like, well, let's reopen. So like, it's a direct announcement as to the bodies and people that we care about and value. But this brings me joy, being with you all virtually and reading and discussing these books. But not a whole lot that brings me joy. But I do understand joy is absolutely as an absolute necessity and a part of the Black revolution. Like, that has to be a part of as well. I mean, a revolution. If we're talking Black or women of color, those kinds of progressive revolutions.
Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else?
Well, oh, go ahead, Kim. Thank you, Michelle. I think for me, I need to up my joy game. I'm I'm always trying to figure out what the next thing is to do, what the right thing is to do, how to make connections with people, and I really could up my joy game. And I think that this isolating, my life hasn't changed that much at all, because I still have all of my meetings and connections and organizing work. But the thing that's missing most was there was a level of joy um, that's even less now. And so I did find it in books and poetry and certain movies. And I discovered since we've been isolating that I never take naps. And I had a nap recently, and you would think I invented this. It was just so nice to sleep in the middle of the day. I just loved it. So I probably have been talking about this nap for like 2 weeks now. So, but I think I actually have to plan for it. But I think joy is necessary in terms of maintaining the self, making sure that you don't fall too far down into despair. And so I love to laugh. I love comedy shows. I like a certain kind of comedy. And if the comedy isn't up to par, I'm out. So I love laughing. I love profanity, believe it or not. Um, I just really love to laugh. And I love my laugh. Like sometimes when I hear it, I remember I was at an event in the East Village in Manhattan, and I got home and somebody called me and they said, "Were you at the show?" And I said, "Yeah, I didn't see you." They said, "No, I didn't see you either, but I heard you." And that's just the way I laugh. So it was just wonderful for somebody to say, "Oh, it's 300 people here, but we heard that. We heard you." So I just think that's important for us to find ways to make each other laugh.
Absolutely.
Here, here. It's for me, there's joy in like this wasn't always true, but like in trying and being with people that are trying to make a difference. And because for me, the reality is that the struggle is active. Like the struggle in terms of being a person with a Black body and a female body is very active. And so if that struggle is active, then I'm willing to put in a little bit of struggle to see what I can do for like some ease or connection. So there's something about the fact that so much of I'm in a place now where so much of my life is dedicated towards trying things out, seeing what can happen, what can you do. I realized too that like, especially around COVID-19, and I had shared this on Facebook the other day, that there's an interview with the Dr. David Williams, who's a sociologist, and he's particularly looking at social determinants of health and the impact of racism and oppression. And the way that he talks about it is that like COVID-19 is like the perfect storm, because it means that because Black bodies are the ones that are doing the work. They have the lowest amount of income, therefore they have hourly jobs, so therefore they have to do the work. Because of the impact of structural racism, they're actually more vulnerable. And so that's why the contraction rate is bad, the death rate is even worse. And that these are all products of of systemic racism. Like he made the point that regardless of whatever income stream of a Black person is in America, that they still have worse outcomes health-wise. Mm-hmm. And that comes from the impact of all those little moments of inequality and of racism, all those little things, they accumulate in our bodies and they're with us.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the question comes up around like, and why it is that where the joy comes in the doing and being with other people who are interested in the doing and making a choice to only be with those people. Like if you're not interested in addressing racism, then like, fuck you, I guess. So it's like,
You gotta put some heat on that word. You can't whisper that. You gotta put heat on there, man.
so it's just that like, okay, so knowing that this is true, what can I do? What can we do to like participate in actions that actually help to mediate some of those impacts? Like, which means like, you know, there was a great line in here about how like we've all become consumers. It's like pulling out of like capitalism where you can, because it does not work. It's not meant for you. It's absolutely terrible. And work and stepping towards community, like, and that's for me is where some joy is, because I can actually see the benefit of what it means to step into community, to be there for somebody and to be held by other people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I could speak during this crisis, but also just in general in my life, that I have more of those experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's like very much expansive, this idea. And I think, so for me, the invitation is, if the struggle of being is real, which it is, then it's worth it in my mind to struggle with stepping into some place of like finding joy. Yeah. Just FYI, Georgette tried to join us, but there's a storm, so she doesn't have good internet. But she's watching.
Oh, well, I find my joy with all of you, and you know, and I've really missed you over these last few months, and you know, I want to say for the recording and for the record that all of you have been in a private session over the last few months reading My Grandmother's Hands.
Yes.
Who was the author?
Resmaa Menakem.
Resmaa Menakem. Okay. I haven't read it yet, but I do want to. But you know, I was just kind of off in La La Land for a while, which I needed to do. You know, but I definitely miss our weekly connections, and I am thrilled to be back now. I think for me, joy has always been more about people than anything else, and I think it's related to having a lot of sadness in my childhood, but I also had a lot of material things. But what it taught me was that material things don't necessarily equal happiness or joy. And so, you know, again, about what is your reason for living? What is the purpose of life? And for me, it really is about the people and the relationships and the quality of those relationships that that either brings me joy or does not. I think even with feminism, or with my approach to feminism, it has something to do with wanting to improve the quality of relationships in my life. I remember I had a boyfriend, a long-term man in my life. And I remember he said to me one time, you know, because, you know, I'm one that always wants to talk about it, you know, in great detail. And he was like, you know, I don't really want to talk about it. You know, people just, you know, they just kind of fall into patterns, and you know, when you talk about it, it messes it up. And you know, and that was his belief, and you know, and he may be right. But I'd rather mess it up. I'd rather tear the house down. I'd rather break up. I'd rather destroy this motherfucker than to be in a relationship of any kind where I'm really not happy. And to me, the words are the bridge. If I can walk through these words and get you to understand what my needs are, who I am, what I'm feeling, and you can respect that and honor that and respond to that, then we can create something that for me is real and joyful and lasting and all of that. But those same relationships that can bring so much joy, you know, can also bring so much pain when we fail to make those connections. So that's one take on joy.
Right, right.
And I'm very good one at that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Georgette says, looking good, ladies.
Hi, Georgette. Miss you.
Yeah. Well, we have just about 25 minutes left. Is there more on this question? We want to look at the last one?
I'd like to talk about joy some more.
Yeah.
I also get joy from painting and singing and the arts. But one thing I love, where I get a lot of joy from is there's something about being with people of color. And regardless of whether you succeeded or you failed, just the way we talk to each other about what happened and how it happened, it's just like this joy. Because I know a lot of my friends, they'll come back and they say, you know, Kim, I can't believe you said that, and then they'll imitate something that I said, and then we just roll around laughing, and I don't take it, you know, personally. I just know that it was something that I said. And they said, but where do you come off with getting, you know, saying this stuff? And my mother was like that. She would say, like, win, lose, or draw. She would say, and then what happened? Tell me what I said. And we would just repeat. And then you said to the landlord, you did like this, Mama. You said such and such and such. And we would just, I just love us. I think there's a part of our culture that is so warm and so loving and so funny that, and I think that was the wonderful thing about Langston Hughes when he wrote about Simple. You know, it was just something about us, even in the hardship. There's this joy, there's this exuberance that sometimes I forget to notice it when it's happening. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to take more time. And I also get joy from the work. Like Leonie was saying, that sometimes, like we did something this past Sunday, and we were on Zoom, and it was like just 30 of us, but I just had to keep looking in their eyes and say, these are the type of people that I like working with, that they're giving up of their time. So I just think there's so many ways that we experience joy, but forget to check the box that, you know, I had some joy today. And I forget a lot because I'm so busy striving in one way that I forget to live, and just to stop and say, that was kind of funny. Maybe that should, so yeah, I'll stop there.
Kim, I feel like that's one of the things missing in Donald's life. Like, he strikes me as an extremely unhappy person. And, we know he's a narcissist and a sociopath and all of that. And,
I was trying to figure out who Donald was.
I mean, I guess.
Donald. Yeah. Like Barack. Like, come on, Kim.
I guess he can't, he can't help it. But it's clear as you watch him through this crisis that he doesn't understand what it means to us to be losing our family and friends. He doesn't understand. And it feels like he's never had that.
Mm-hmm.
I think, Michelle, it's just my thoughts, and I really think that there are people who are so excited about us dying of this disease that they dance around their apartments naked. They just so happy. And I think
this is their joy.
I think he's one of them. I really do. I just think that we are expendable. And I think that that's why I like the question on the revolution, because it says that, we think that we can help each other change this country, but there are some people who are locked into this country so strong and are so happy about Donald being in office. And when you said Donald, I thought it was like a personal friend of yours. I didn't know.
Oh, he's no friend of mine.
My brain was trying to figure out, well, do I know what Donald she's talking about? Is this somebody intimate? What Donald?
I think you're right, Kim, but I think you're both right. I think you're right that there are people who are celebrating this, and I still think that it comes from their own pain that they don't have awareness of and don't know how to process. The fact that you can celebrate that. And it's actually not an opinion that isn't backed up, because one of the things that this Dr. Williams talked about is the fact that, like, study after study shows that, like, white people don't care what happens to Black people. Like, they literally don't care. And I think that don't care is the outcome of not being attached to their own history and not being attached to understanding that it ends up showing up and looking like a complete lack of humanity. Yeah. Talked about how 70% of the people who are wanting everything to open up, this is in the United States, they're white, they're middle class, they're salaried. They have not suffered. Yeah. They have not suffered in any material way for this pandemic. The people who don't want things to open up are all working class, the ones that are on the front line, wage workers, that are concerned because they're turning and looking to their left and looking to the right and seeing, oh, my auntie has COVID and is in the hospital, or my uncle actually died of it, or whatever. Like, they're literally dealing with death every single day. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And I think too, Leonie, I think we would absolutely have to throw in those ways in which institutions support that, right? So the institutions support this kind of historical, this erasure, if you will, and it's a way to maintain this mythological white innocence. And so when you enter those institutions and you speak those truths, your Black ass won't be there long, because nobody, there's a way to start, to get you out, to to do the work
And,
of kind of
and your white ass, Nicole, your white
That's
ass.
true. And your white ass sometimes.
You know,
Yeah.
from the perspective of solidarity, look at Dr.
Right.
Rick Wright.
You're conscious. That's true. If that kind of consciousness as well. So yeah, and other people of color asses, right, won't be that long. But it's so let's reframe. So if you have a critical consciousness that you're speaking to and you make known and visible, right, that you're removed because that goes against those ways in which, you know, they're constructing their own kind of institutional lore, as well as, again, this kind of these histories that people don't want to deal with. And so you're, you know, and you're gone just like that, you know, because what's grieving me is when I think about Sylvia Winter and the ways in which, you know, and so many Black academics here, and, you know, and I'm speaking of the diaspora as well with Winter, but with Black studies programs, and we talk about what's happening at these institutions, and that the Black studies programs are overwhelmingly like the first ones that you begin to gut and cut. Wow, there's just, that just tells us, you know, where we are. We are still in the midst of these incomplete freedom projects.
Oh yeah.
The struggle for liberation is ongoing, and folks better decide which side they're on. And I don't know if it's age, but I'm with you, Leonie.
Yeah.
I don't have to be in the company of wolves any longer. I mean, I'm what I'm saying is I'm making my politics well known, you know, and that I don't have time, because to me this is a very serious matter.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah. The thing that I think is so, which is why I appreciate that we're looking at this book now, because we don't have to get, this has been true in why it is that like I'm doing the work that I'm doing, and like why I've created the organizations that I've created, and why I'm creating POC spaces, is because this book speaks to exactly what the remedy is. We don't have to give our time, energy, and attention to what's happening with white folks. We should be moving towards each other as people of color to give our time, energy, and attention to seeing what we can generate for ourselves. Because we can't sit around and wait for racism to go away. Right? So, but we can. We're not helpless. Even though we're oppressed and our lives are at stake, we're not helpless, and we can be stronger if we work together as people of color, right? So it's up to us, which is why I love that we read my grandmother's hands book, because it's like, it helps me to like really commit to stepping towards other people of color, and to be like, this is, you can be my sister. We can work out. I am interested in your liberation as well as my own. You know, I'm not going to enter into a conversation about, oh, Asian folks, now they know what racism is, and now they're getting all this attention, and no attention has come to Black folks. I'm not doing that. That is such a white lens. I will not do it. Right?